Hello and welcome again to the NOCMAT 2022 conference. This is Christopher Papadopoulos. As a faculty member at the University of Puerto Rico Mayagüez campus, I'm pleased to introduce to you the group Huellas del Tambor, which is a group of students and other members of our community who practice, play, and celebrate the music of Bomba and Plena. And I'm going to have them give a few other explanations for your knowledge and enjoyment about what it means both in Puerto Rico but also from their own personal perspectives.
Hello everybody, we are Huellas del Tambor, students that play Bomba Puertorriqueña and look to educate about our culture and our African heritage here in Mayagüez campus of the University of Puerto Rico. And today we will be showing you guys the dynamic of the Bomba in El Bate.
So here we have the cloth. This instrument sets the rhythm for the barrels and the drums.
These are the drums. They both make the rhythm, maintain the rhythm. We have two types, different types. We have the boleador, which goes. Maintain the rhythm. And then there's another one, which is this one. It improvises.
Hello again, and thank you so much for joining me today and providing this wonderful opportunity for our members of our conference to view and enjoy. Maybe I'll just invite you to each of all introduce yourselves by name and tell me something about yourself, what you do, what you study, what you enjoy, something like that.
Who wants to start? You? Well, hello, my name is Ginia Martinez. I study arts. I am in my last semester and last year, ready to graduate. I've been in the Bomba since 2019, and honestly it's been very special. It's been a process of deconstructing my identity as a woman, a Puerto Rican woman or of Afro descent, and reconstructing again that identity and just learning about our history of our ancestry and our ancestors. It's just it's just beautiful. Beautiful.
Hi everyone, my name is Doris Rivera. I've been in the Bomba community since 2016, and this has been a very fulfillful experience. Like Jania said, is like reconnecting with our African culture, and it has been very special.
Hi, my name is Oscar. I'm our partner. I'm also been in the Bomba since 2016, and yeah, it's been an amazing experience. You know, it's one of those things that we, as most Puerto Ricans, do not know much about because of its history of erasure and pretty much racism. But trying to recapture all that has been a very hard experience, but a very opening experience. And from the musical aspect, I've always been a musician, and I never really knew much about the music aspect of the Bomba. But it's been a very eye-opening experience, and it's become our thing.
Yes.
For the past 6 years, and I'm so grateful for it.
Hi, so I'm Maria Fernanda. I'm in my last year as well as Jania. I study literature, comparative literature. Very excited to graduate. I've been in Bomba just for 7 months, so I'm like the youngest one here. But it's provided me such a safe place. It's provided me community. It's provided me family. It's provided me culture, history. It's just an amazing experience to get to share with everyone here and just have fun and learn about our roots and have a place to grow and to heal. So.
Very nice words. So all of you mentioned in some degree about the African heritage. Could you tell me more about the history of the African heritage of Bomba? When did it first arrive? Was it through slavery? Was it through other kinds of historical occurrences? And anything else you'd like to add about how the legacy then has been propagating until today?
Well, to define Bomba as a specific thing is very complicated and at the same time hard, just because it's a result of a very, very long and deep history that is influenced by many cultures and ethnicities. But in general, it was basically founded, or it was a product of all these mixed cultures in sugar plantations here in Puerto Rico that started for the 16th century. So if I were to summarize how Bomba came to be, I would say that it's basically a mix of everything. But it's a way to survive, or it was a tool to survive and to preserve the very little things that our ancestors were able to make or to manifest within their prohibition. Yep, sorry, language barriers. But contemporarily, I would say Bomba always depends on its context and on its history and what is happening in the present, the social and political context that is happening currently. And to just define it or stick it to one thing, to me takes away its essence, because to us Bomba's everything, and it could be manifested for anything or everything. And I would just say basically its essence is just to manifest and connect or reconnect with what brought us here, which would be the history of our ancestors, their music, their traditions, their culture, their religious practices also influence in what Bomba is. And it's just a big pot of soup with different ingredients, different flavors that just mix into one and comes out perfect.
Thank you.
And the role of resistance as well. Since its origins, it was a way to resist to slavery and to their reality. So contemporarily, as Jania says, like we also participate as a group in spaces that manifest resistance to our political situations or discriminations in whichever way or form, including here in the university.
Yes.
And speaking about erasure earlier, I talked about. We found out about the group that was here in Mayagüez from a friend of a friend. So that type of 6 degrees of separation, it shouldn't be that way for us to experience this. So we basically made this group in 2019 to expand on this, to teach other students, other younger people, even older people who really didn't know, so that we can expand, we can just go to schools, children go to other universities, other places that people can know, because no one really knows. The erasure was so so severe that people just know the term bomba y plena, which isn't. They are two different genres. So now we have much more, many other groups, many other people that are historians that are looking at history and trying to recapture that. And it's groups like this. I think it's very important for us to dissipate that knowledge.
Yes.
To us and to future generations.
Yes.
Especially us that we are in a age range that we are young, and most of the Bomba players, I can say players, the Bomba community or musicians, thank you, are old people, and that old people is trying to conserve the Bomba as it was like hundreds of years ago. And now that we are trying to continue with this legacy, is very important for us.
Yes, and adding to that, I would say that that is a perfect example of how Bomba evolves. And the perfect example is our group, for instance, just being able to play and teach about this genre in these academical spaces that tend to be meant for the elite. So that itself is also resistance, not only because we are students bringing this knowledge to these spaces, but also because it's Bomba. And like Maria Fernanda mentioned, Bomba itself, from its origins, is resistance. So just everything, just being a Bomba group of students here in University of Puerto Rico, campus of Mayagüez, is just resistance in general.
So you mentioned a number of things I'd like to pursue a little bit, and one of them is what you were mentioning about the context. And one of those contexts in general, if I understand, is about resistance, but it also could apply to the current time. And of course, we know very much about the current colonial status of Puerto Rico, and most recently with the Promesa law and other things. I'd like to ask, from your own experience, how does it come? Because obviously you don't go back 200 years ago and having people singing about the legacy of Hurricane Maria or the Promesa law, but what I've heard also myself watching it in the Plaza of Mayagüez and so forth is that it seems that people so spontaneously and so beautifully can just put together an entire song about what's happening right now. How does that actually happen? Do you sit in a room and practice writing lyrics, or does it just come out when you're playing? I'm really curious.
It depends on the person, it depends on the context, or what message you want to bring. There are many songs that are improvised, but I also feel like that's something you develop, or a lot of people just are born with that talent of improvising. Others have to sit down and actually think, okay, what do I want to write about? What context? What story do I want to tell? Because at the end of the day, it's storytelling, right? You're bringing a voice to make visible any situation that is currently happening. But itself, I feel like it's just manifestation. It's just manifesting and expressing organically, however it comes out in that moment.
And for example, you were mentioning Promesa, but it also applies to, as Dania says, different types of stories that we need to tell. So for example, the horrible gender violence we live here in the island, there are certain groups of Bomba that are women, all women, and they sing about such violent scenes. They perform them sometimes in the latte. So it's a way to express your resistance or your indignation because of the situation that is happening. But also as a community, you get to canalize that and try to heal in any way you can. So and that is also important, like the fact that we as women get to play the drums and just participate in general. Bomba in its origins used to be very misogynist, and women were only able to dance. So that also goes along with the evolution of Bomba.
Interesting point. I didn't realize that. And when you were also talking about the erasure, would you argue that there were periods in Puerto Rican history where Bomba was actually suppressed? And is there now a resurgence, or has this resurgence been happening for decades? Can you give me some more background about where you think you are relative to the history of bringing Bomba back?
I mean, as far as I know, a lot of the older generation they themselves kind of like close themselves from the outside world in different families, right? And I believe that it was a time of like really harsh political, climate where there were like political assassinations just from from trying to be, from the independent movement, all those other movements. So they kind of they form a close community so as to not, basically not get assassinated, not get trampled. And after that time kind of passed, after the Cold War kind of ended, people were like, can we do this outside? Can we go outside? And little by little, it's basically been over in 12 years. The Bomba, the school of Bomba here started in 2010, and out of that, there have been a lot of groups that weren't here 20 years ago, and that helps. The political climate, even as it is, it helps a little bit that it's not as as it was in the 60s, for example, and that helps a little bit. But it should be better, of course. As I've said, we not a lot of people know about. It comes from that. This is not in schools. Maybe they have a week where they talk about Puerto Rican instruments, but it's not enough. It should be more. It's not enough.
So this is not part of the practice, for example, of a music class. It would not be a regular practice.
Not a regular.
And if it would be super basic. Super basic, and maybe just the general context that may not be accurate.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of studying and a lot of compromise that our curriculums and our government don't cover or decide to not cover, given the fact that our system is very Eurocentric. So yeah, like Oki says, it's definitely something that should be taught and be opened more to the culture and to the community and everybody.
And this is why we do what we do. So maybe not them, but other people can be, other members can. Maybe they're gonna be teachers, so they can. So they know Bomba. They go to schools. And maybe they incorporate Bomba more frequently. Right? Maybe instead of a week, they can do once every month. They can do a bombazo. They incorporate the kids, teach them about Bomba, and they have the community. The Bomba community has a lot of teachers, and they be doing that exactly. And with that, maybe in a few years, hopefully, not hopefully, it needs to be incorporated into the school curriculum. It should be. We cannot let this go.
Fantastic. If I may, a couple more questions. From my non-expert ear, when I listen to Bomba, I believe that sometimes I hear lyrics that are not necessarily in Spanish, or there's some other dialects that are being sung, and could you explain where those other dialects are based from?
They could be Creole.
Yes.
They could be French. But it's like a what?
Equal. No, like different dialects from Africa.
Yeah, different dialects from Africa either. But yeah, it was mainly because not all of the enslaved people talked the same language. So Bomba was like a way to communicate with each other.
That is also, therein lies the importance of Bomba, and as an expression of the body, more than based on the word, as Jania mentioned, very Eurocentric, where we base everything, our communication with words. Not the enslaved people didn't necessarily know how to communicate because they didn't necessarily come from the same places. They were just like found there in the plantations, and their way to communicate with each other was through dance, through music, and through singing.
Great. And maybe one last question. Given that this is a conference on materials, could you comment about the type of wood and other materials that are used to make the instruments and how they are made? Are they made all locally? Are there now some industrial organizations that make these? Or tell me please more about how and from what the instruments are made.
All handmade.
Yeah,
And I'll leave that to Ogi.
so pretty much every barrel is handmade. It's made by an artisan, right? They're all custom made, basically. I mean, this one specifically isn't. No, it was made. It has a few brothers and sisters, so to speak, but most of them are made from barrels, from old rum barrels.
Ah.
So they take the barrel, they chop it down, they make it down into smaller barrel, right? And they put skin, leather, right? From baby goats, right? Don't know the name. From baby goats, and no, this is a much more modern addition. But they used to just put cables on it and ropes. Ropes. It was very every artisan did it their own way. They're all over the island, but every barrel is unique in its way. And, there's no industry that's just making barrels. Like for example, conga maybe congas. But these are very, very special, very expensive, but it's worth it. It's made with love, by hand. I wouldn't have it any other way, really.
And
the quas, these aren't really sticks from 4 quas, but they're usually made out of branches. But these are another type of sticks, but these are very important. But they are also made from different type of woods, caoba, coffee, guayaba.
caoba is mahogany in English. Is that correct? Yes. Okay.
So they're all made from a lot of different materials. I don't know if bamboo is one. I don't. The base. This is more of a base. This is more of a modern addition, but it can also be made from bamboo and other materials.
But this material, for example, here would be what would you guess?
That's bamboo.
This is a bamboo. It doesn't quite look like bamboo.
I don't know. Right now, I don't know which one it is.
Yeah.
But they're all made from basically there's no plastic.
Yeah.
It's all artisan made. It's all from the earth, from
Yeah.
maraca. This is also another instrument that we forgot to talk about, but this is one of our Taino influences. This is made from a higuera. This is a type of it's just a shell, right? They take it from the tree, drill a hole, take the insides out, just paint it and fill it with tiny seeds. Put a stick it in there, and you have a maraca. It's also made from. Now there are trees around the campus that you can just find. You can make your own maracas. So it's very sustainable. It's very
Organic.
It's very organic, and it's one of our most important.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much. Are there any last comments you'd like to leave with our guests from the conference?
I would say for extend an invitation to follow us on our social media as Huellas del Tambor, but also an invitation to look more not only into our culture as Afro-Puerto Ricans or Puerto Ricans of Afro descent, but also to your own culture from wherever continent or country you are from.
And if you ever visit in Puerto Rico, I want you to look up other bomba performers. Maybe in San Juan, maybe in other places in the western coast, so that you can experience another thing that isn't just the tourism attraction, right? So this isn't tourism attraction. This is us. This is our culture, and this is our lifeblood. This is who we are. So if you're ever around, I invite you to look up Bomba in Puerto Rico, and there's bound to be a bunch of different people. Any other given day, there's gonna be something. Just go watch it, enjoy it. I hope you're happy.
Well, thank you so much, Huellas del Tambor.
Thank you.
Hasta luego y lindo día.